Brothers and sisters, thanks for joining me again. Hey, today let's talk about TikTok and the TikTok ban. So, this one I've been thinking about for a while, and I really haven't been sure of what my opinion was on this one. In general, I like freedom of expression and I want people to be able to use platforms and make money and say what they want to say without government interference. So, from that perspective, I should want TikTok to stay going. But then, from another perspective, I do want the government to handle security type issues. And so, if TikTok is unsafe for Americans to use, then maybe it should be banned. So, this one's been a tough one for me, and I've been going around and around and struggling on it. But let's talk about it. So, my understanding is that TikTok has been banned as of January 19th. And that puts a question mark right off the top because if you're going to put something into effect the day before the new president goes into power, that really seems a little fishy. So you're really removing Trump's ability to do anything about it. So Congress did pass this law. So I like that. And then Biden did sign it. So I do like that. So in general, I think this thing's legal, but if nothing else happens, my understanding is TikTok will no longer be able to be used inside the United States starting January 19th, barring the president giving them a pass for, I believe it's 90 days if there's a sale in progress. Well, we haven't heard anything about a sale yet, and only Biden would be able to do this, and he signed the bill. So I doubt that he's going to give him a pass. So TikTok has failed in their appeals on free speech grounds to the appeals courts, and now the Supreme Court has actually taken up an emergency petition by them and should rule before the 19th, which is pretty huge because the Supreme Court usually takes years to do things. But this was a big thing, and millions of Americans will no longer be able to use it, make money off it, and also people in other countries won't be able to make money off of Americans. If you live in the UK and you're on TikTok, then you'll no longer be able to make money off of advertising to Americans. And I have used TikTok for full disclosure. I've been down the Warhammer 40K rabbit hole on TikTok, and I've been down the Has Been Hotel rabbit hole on TikTok. So I kind of like it as just a fun entertainment tool. But anyway, so then Trump decided to wade into it. And that's when I said, okay, I need to really decide how I feel about this. So let's read this from Deadline. The story is December 27th, which is yesterday. Today's December 28th, 2024. So we've still got about 2 to 3 weeks until the ban happens, barring the Supreme Court. But let's see what they say here. So according to Deadline, Donald Trump asked Supreme Court to put a pause on the looming TikTok ban. Trump is asking the Supreme Court to pause a law that could lead to a ban on TikTok so his incoming administration can pursue a negotiated resolution to prevent a shutdown of the app. Now, I do actually prefer negotiated stuff instead of just government mandates, but so that I think that's a positive. President Trump takes no position on the merits of the dispute. Instead, he urges the court to stay the statute's effective date to allow his incoming administration to pursue the negotiated resolution that could prevent a nationwide shutdown of TikTok, thus preserving the First Amendment rights of tens of millions of Americans while also addressing national security concerns, Trump's attorneys wrote. Yeah, so that's really the problem. It's people have their freedom of expression and get to say whatever they want, within reason on TikTok, and they can make money, but are there national security issues? And I do get nervous when the government just says there's national security issues because they lie about everything. And under the guise of national security, they just use that to hide everything they're doing. So just because they say it's national security, I don't immediately go, oh yeah, we should ban this. No, well, I'd like to hear more. Why is it a national security issue? So Congress overwhelmingly passed a law last year to force the Chinese parent of TikTok, ByteDance, to sell the social media platform or face a restriction on its availability in the US. Yep. TikTok has challenged the law in the Supreme Court earlier this month, has agreed to hear the challenge on an expedited schedule. Oral arguments are set for January 10th. Wow. So they're only going to have 9 days to make a decision. But opening briefs are due today, as well as friend of the court briefs. TikTok has said it faces being banned in the US on January 19th unless the law is paused or sidelined. In his first term, Trump sought to force a sale of TikTok via executive order, but that effort ultimately stalled in the courts. This year, even as a bipartisan group of lawmakers sought legislation to force a divestiture, Trump indicated his opposition to such a move. He has credited TikTok as a valuable platform in his reelection campaign. Yeah, I saw him make a statement that he's changed his mind on TikTok because he was for banning it when he was president. But it appears like Barron said, "Hey, you need to go watch some of these TikTok influencers. Maybe go talk to them, and it'll help your campaign with young people." So, I mean, so there are positive things about TikTok. And so some of that is why he said he's changed his mind. In their brief, Trump's attorneys argued that the new law raises concerns about possible legislative encroachment on the prerogatives of the executive branch under Article 2 of the Constitution. Yeah, see, I kind of agree with that because if we're banning it, and I don't know what Article 2 is off the top of my head, but if we're banning it because it's a national security issue with China, well, Trump is the commander in chief, so he's actually in charge of national security come the 20th. And he is also the head ambassador, head of all foreign affairs. So the second clause must have something to do with either of those. Now, from that perspective, Biden has that role today. So if Biden feels like he wants to close off, TikTok in the U.S. For the under that second clause article, I think that's actually fine. But Biden wants to do it before Trump gets in. So it's and again, I don't really like that. Like doing something and putting it as a date the day before a new administration, that just seems a little bit fishy to me. They noted that the law dictates the president must make a particular national security determination as to TikTok alone, while granting the president a degree of discretion and freedom from statutory restriction as to all other social media platforms. They noted that the law mandates the president must exercise his power over foreign affairs through an interagency process commanded by Congress instead of exercising his sole discretion, the deliberative process of the executive branch. Yeah, I completely agree with that. No, Congress, sorry, the Constitution is clear. The president is the main interface with foreign powers and is supreme in foreign affairs. Congress doesn't get to tell the president what he needs to do or how he needs to do it. And I think the Supreme Court touched on that earlier in the year in the immunity decision. Congress isn't allowed to exercise authority in areas where the president's constitutional authority is clear. And under foreign affairs, it's clear. His legal team also noted that the deadline came one day before Trump is to take office. His attorneys wrote that the First Amendment implications of the federal government's effective shuttering of social media platform used by 170 million Americans. Wow, if that's true, that's like half of America. There are valid concerns that the act may set a dangerous global precedent by exercising the extraordinary power to shut down an entire social media platform based in large part on concerns about disfavored speech on that platform. Yeah, if they're really shutting it down because they don't like the speech, that's a huge problem. And it really is a bad precedent because what happens when they want to shut down Twitter or what happens when they want to shut down Facebook? So it's a problem. So with that, again, I'm still torn. I actually see good points on both sides to this. So let's look at something else. Let's kind of look a little bit at the national security implications because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in the government. I'm not related to TikTok, but I believe it's usually national security concerns that they talk about because the parent company of TikTok is in China. So let's look at what the Euronews was saying about it. And this is a little bit of an older article from March of this year. Which countries have banned TikTok and why? Many countries are concerned about TikTok's security and the platform's ties to China. This week, the United States Congress approved a bill against ByteDance's app. So ByteDance is the owner of TikTok. The United States took one more step towards becoming the possible first country to ban the social media app TikTok over privacy concerns. On April 23rd, Congress approved legislation which would force the Chinese owner of app ByteDance to sell the platform within 9 months or face a ban. So that's the January 19th date. That's when the 9 months is up. Several countries have banned it on government devices, fearing sensitive information could be exposed when the app is downloaded. TikTok disputes the accusations that it collects more user information than other social media companies and has called the bans basic misinformation, saying they had been decided with no deliberation or evidence. So I think that is a fair argument that TikTok on your phone is not collecting any more information than Twitter on your phone already has, or Apple already has, or Facebook on your phone ever has, and we're not doing anything to them. So I think that could be fair. TikTok is owned by Chinese technology company ByteDance, but insists it's run independently and does not share with the Chinese government. It is currently carrying out a project to store U.S. data in Texas, which it says is out of China's reach. However, many countries remain cautious about the platform's ties to China. So let's look. Oh, yeah. So Western technology companies, including Airbnb, Yahoo, and LinkedIn, have all been leaving China, downsizing operations there because of Beijing's strict privacy laws. So there's really the problem, which specifies how companies can collect and store data. So here are the countries that have announced or implemented total bans or partial bans. I'm not going to go all through it, but Australia has banned it from federal government-owned devices. Estonia, another country in Europe, the Minister of Trade has said it would be banned from smartphones issued to government officials. The UK has also banned it as a precautionary move, government official devices. EU institutions such as the EU Parliament and Commission have banned TikTok on staff devices because of cybersecurity concerns. France has banned it. So this is mostly Europe. So is this just a European and American conspiracy? France is the first to step up efforts to ban other recreational applications such as Netflix from government devices. So it seems like there's a trend here. All of these countries in Europe are banning TikTok, and some are going as far as banning other recreational apps. The Netherlands is discourage use of all apps from other countries with aggressive cyber programs targeted at the Netherlands or Dutch interests on phones distributed by the government. Norway, Belgium. So there's a theme here. Denmark. We already talked about the United States. Both the FBI and the FCC have warned that ByteDance could share TikTok data with the Chinese authoritarian government. Canada's interesting because Canada ordered TikTok to stop operations in the country due to foreign interference concerns. So that they're interesting. They allow TikTok to be used by Canadians, but not by the Canadian government. But because they had to stop operations and they really kicked out TikTok's headquarters out of Canada, or its Canada headquarters had to shut down, I should say. But because of that, as part of all that, nobody in Canada can get paid by TikTok. And it's really, I haven't been able to figure out why, but it is a problem. If you're a Canadian creator, you cannot be paid in Canada. And it's probably related to all of this. Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on. Okay, so now we're outside of Europe, but it is still the Commonwealth. New Zealand has banned it from phones of government lawmakers at the end of the month, this was in March. India has banned it, and dozens of other Chinese apps, including WeChat, because of security concerns. Taiwan has banned it. That's kind of obvious. China feels Taiwan is part of China. I used to live in Taiwan, as an aside. And so Taiwan's always worried about China wanting to take back over. Pakistan. Okay, so now we've got some Asian countries, and now we even have some Southeast Asian countries. Pakistan temporarily blocked TikTok at least 4 times. Afghanistan, even the Taliban have banned TikTok and the game PUBG because they're trying to protect youth from being misled. So I think the bottom line with this article is there are legitimate, serious security concerns. If there weren't, all these countries wouldn't be banning it. Now, they do tend to be European countries and allies, like New Zealand, but there's a few that aren't. Afghanistan and the Taliban, India, a few Asian countries like Taiwan. So it's really people worried about China. And so, what do I think about this? I think both sides have a legitimate concern here. I actually do believe that the government has the right to ban businesses from doing business in a country if they feel they need to do that for the protection of their citizens. So, from that perspective, I think the government has the right. And the way I look at it is, I think they actually did it the right way in this case. Congress looked at the facts, I'm hoping, and then they passed a law in good faith trying to protect Americans. I'm trying to put a good light on this. And then the president had his opportunity to look at it. He could have vetoed it. Biden could have vetoed this, but as his role as head of foreign affairs, he decided he was going to go along with this ban. And so I do have to hope that the government knows more than I do and that they're really seriously looking into this and they didn't just shut it down because they didn't like what people were saying, and that they really did shut it down or want to shut it down because of national security. So that sounds right. Now, given that, I still have a problem with it. My problem is they did it on the 19th. That looks suspicious to me. Anything the outgoing administration does at the 12th hour seems kind of suspicious. And you know what? When I look at the last 4 years, the Biden administration has been asleep at the wheel. Biden has been on vacation almost as much as he's worked. He's eaten a lot of ice cream and been out on the beach. I think he's been in mental decline since he became president. I think the Wall Street Journal that came out last week actually pretty much said that. So who's been making the decisions? So that's my problem. I don't believe Biden is really making the decisions. And I don't know if it's Dr. Jill Biden or it's some other unelected bureaucrats, but it's not Joe Biden. And so that's kind of my problem with the TikTok ban. I think Biden is asleep at the wheel, and him and his administration have been making bad decisions. So all decisions they've made are suspect for me. And so I'm actually happy that Trump has asked the Supreme Court to put a hold on this. I do think it sets a bad precedent because I do actually think this is probably legal, honestly. But because I think it may have been rushed and there may be some other political ramifications in there, and it may not be in the best interest of the country because Biden has some mental deficiencies. I'm glad that Trump has weighed in on it and said, hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I think what he said was right. Hey, please put a ban on this, or put a halt on the ban, Supreme Court. You're the only ones who can do it at this point. Let me and my team come actually take a look at it, and then let me decide how to take this forward as the chief negotiator, the chief diplomat of America. Maybe I can work with the Chinese and work this out. Because I do think the national security angle is true. It's real. China 100% can pick up the phone and call ByteDance's CEO and say, give me everything you've got on anyone who's in TikTok, or give me all the data. And he will give it. Because if he doesn't, they all go to jail and they get shut down in China. And because that's how China is. And so I think there are definite security concerns. But again, I've been conflicted by this because on the flip side, Twitter can already do that. And you know what? During COVID, it's been proven that the Biden administration was getting TikTok to do all kinds of things, banning people, censoring things, throttling certain people and hiding certain conservative viewpoints. It absolutely happened. So how is that different than what the Chinese might do. Yeah, we could end up in a war with them, but we're not in a war with them today. And yeah, they do spy on us. So, so again, I'm conflicted, but I say let's let Trump and his team go in and have a look at it. I'm hoping that the Supreme Court rules in the way Trump is asking and puts a hold on it, on the implementation of the law, and lets Trump decide what to do. Because I think we need a president who's in full command of his faculties and has the will of the U.S. people behind him. I'm not saying he had a mandate, but he got the majority of the popular vote. And get someone who has the best interests of America at heart to make the decision, and not unelected bureaucrats. So yeah, that's what I think. Thanks everyone. If you like this, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell, like it. You guys know what to do. If I got it wrong, tell me in the comments, or if there's something else you'd like me to see. Thanks guys. Bye.